Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Jill and you found yourself here on Jill and Beauty Therapy. So today we're going to be talking about kind of my all-time favorite sort of game changer tips for makeup application as you get older. You know, our skin changes and we learn to adapt, at least hopefully, and if that's where you're struggling, I hope that's where I can help you. So although we're not going to be going through this entire full face look today, I am going to take you through my favorite tips as to how I have tweaked my makeup application and things that I like to do that I think are really powerful but subtle and soft. And that brings me to tip number one, really, is you will find there's a theme lately, and that is just to really create soft looks. That doesn't mean you need to go muted and soft on your color choices. You know, that for me varies day by day on how bright or something I want my eyes to look, or, you know, just sort of dramatic. It doesn't mean that at all, really. It's all about softening the colors, you know, and kind of blurring the lines and not having any harsh stop and starts. And I think all in all, that gives a really soft look no matter what colors you choose to use. And that to me is the all over takeaway, I think, lately on my makeup tutorials. So really, there's no denying, you know, I am an esthetician, and I have to say I would be failing you if I didn't say the number one thing really behind a really pretty makeup application is pretty skin and taking good care of your skin. Doesn't have to be perfect. Goodness knows my skin is not perfect. I have quite a bit of pigmentation, freckling that's from the sun, and not the cute freckles that you get, you know, that you're born with. And so, you know, I do have my imperfections. I have, you know, broken red capillaries around my nose here, down here in my chin, a little bit even up in here. But I do try my very best to treat my skin well. Simplicity seems to be the key for my skin because I do err on the side of being sensitive. So I find that my skin likes simplicity more than anything. I don't go crazy on my actives, and I don't go heavy on acids and vitamin C's and whatnot. I do incorporate them for sure in my skincare ritual through the year, but it's not something I do every single day. That is going to be a separate video. I'm going to talk about really just that, and how for my skin at least, I find that it thrives when I'm just quite simple with it. And that goes for maybe not necessarily steps, but what I put on it. Very simple. So that'll be a different video. But for now, I want to talk about what I do most of the time when I prep for my makeup. But before I put my makeup on, these are the two products that I tend to reach for most of the time. And that's the Pumpkin E Serum and the Drops of Essence Hydration Drops. And as you can see here, I don't really use much at all because anytime you're using sort of a lipid-based serum, you don't need much at all. Drops, literally drops. And I just press that in my skin. And as a final touch, I go in with a drop, literally a drop of the Drops of Essence Hydration Drops, which is heavy in omegas, really nourishing for this tissue on the skin everywhere. And especially I love using it around the eyes very lightly. And I just press it in up. I just press it in all over the eye tissue, underneath, above, on the eyelid, everywhere. Lovely. Really, those two products right there act not only as amazing nourishment for my skin, but it feeds it all day. It also is just this really wonderful natural primer. I'm not keen on makeup primers, the kind that are primers, usually because that ingredient deck is really not something I want to put on my skin every day for special occasions, weddings, whatever. Yeah, primers are really great, but for the daily wear, I definitely don't reach for them. So as that's kind of my skin's drinking that in, Then I go for the sunscreen. That's every day, every single day, 365 days a year, I reach for a sunscreen and I put it liberally all over. So that's what we're doing here. And now we're ready for foundation. I want to talk a little bit about that because that is definitely something that is what I have tweaked over the years. And that is that I am not one to go for heavy foundations. If they're medium coverage, they still have to be on the lighter side. It could be the pigment is kind of intense, more intensified, but the actual feeling and coverage is never full coverage. I don't like the feeling or the look of a cakey look. And I also do not strive to cover up my imperfections. I look at my foundation application as really just evening out my complexion. Maybe muting out some of that pigmentation, although it's still there, it's still going to be seen. But I just think that, letting our own skin that we take good care of shine through. I think really the best compliment that I can get when I have a full face of makeup on is when somebody mentions how pretty my skin is. I think that is just really the ultimate compliment. Another really, really important sort of tip that I can give you if you're just really trying to get more of a vibrant, youthful look overall. Isn't that kind of what we're shooting for all in all? And feeling our best and feeling like we're putting our best face forward. And that is brightening the skin and understanding really how to play with light. I want the center of my face to be bright. So I'll choose kind of what way, or I'll do them all. It just depends. And one of those ways that I'm not showing you here, that's to get a foundation color that's a little bit lighter, just a half to one shade lighter than what you would normally wear, in the same sort of hue that you should, and then really use that just in the center of your face. I mean, you can feather it out everywhere, but I would use that after I put my foundation on, and really lightly. Both applications really, for me, I tend to go quite light with my foundation. It may not look like it, but I do. So you can do sort of that lighter bit of foundation right in the center of your face. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you how I went about to kind of brighten the center of my face. Another tip, don't be afraid of what's called finishing powders. They're different than setting powders. And they, really good quality ones, are amazing. They act like you're blurring out your skin, like you've used some sort of filter on your skin. And you can choose if you want a warm one or more of a neutral, kind of doesn't have any sort of color to it, or you can even go on the cool end. And really that step right there is how I change a little bit of my sort of undertone to go with the colors I'm wearing that day or the hair or whatever. It really is a fun little trick. Today I'm using Peach Blur. This is a more of a warming undertone, and you would think it would be really orange, especially because I have very fair skin, but it isn't at all. And it's just this really light undertone, sort of punch of warmth that it gives the skin tone. It really does live up to that blur, Peach Blur, because it does blur out that sort of the imperfections, and it just gives a beautiful finish. So that's kind of where you want to think about your finishing powders. It will give you a beautiful finish. So that is another big tip, and it is a little secret that I share with you all the time. The other line of finishing powders that I absolutely love are the BareMinerals Radiances. They have kind of more of like a pure radiance that does have a little bit of a cooler undertone. There are a few to choose from in that line, and they are gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. We're going to mosey on now over to basic eyeshadow application. I'm not going to go through this step by step with you, but I will say that since my kind of crow's feet have really solidified this year, and kind of last year as well, I really start my makeup application on my eyes almost directly in the center. I used to sort of start a little further down on my eyes down in here, but I kind of start right there. And that's because my goal is to really give the illusion that everything's up. You know, everything is up. I don't want to put any lines on my face. That's going to bring things down. So that's where that sort of line comes in, with the corner of the nose, the outside corner of the eye. And if you line something up there, that's also where your brow line should end as well. And so in my mind, I have that line all the time, and I just don't want my application in my eye look to kind of go beyond that. Especially because now I really have a lot more wrinkles down in here. And so I don't want darker colors to settle in there. And I just try to keep everything out of that area. It's a great tip also if you have hooded eyes, but I will do a separate video on that as well if you do have hooded eyes, and how really this kind of application can be helpful, as well as if you have downturned eyes. Starting right in the center of your eye is going to be a game changer for you. Finally, curling your eyelashes. I just started doing that a couple years ago, and I think for the mature person, you know, curling those lashes opens the eye, and it has made a big difference in how kind of my end looks like. So definitely curl your eyelashes. I think you know what I'm going to say here. If you've watched any of my makeup videos, I think one of the biggest tips I could give you for your eye look as your age has progressed and you're seeing it in your eyes as in crepiness, droopiness. And because of all that, you may really be struggling with, you know, trying to line your eye the traditional way using eye pencils. And I tend to use eyeshadow these days, but I still want to define the shape of my eye. And that is what really tight lining does so well. It does take a little practice. It's a little freaky at first. I always wash my makeup off before I go to bed. Always take my makeup off. I've never had any infection. I've never had any weird thing go on by doing this technique ever. And I have been doing it for years. Tight lining for me is such a big tip for you guys. It doesn't close the eye. It really opens it up. And again, it defines the lash line. I don't wear false eyelashes. I never do. And I would love to be proficient at it, so I can maybe do that just for fun from time to time, but I don't do it. So my eyelashes need a lot of help with a good mascara. They're getting quite thin and sparse. And really tight lining helps to give the illusion that I have a better lash line than I actually do. But I think more so, what it does is it really just sort of defines the eye shape. And it gives me a look that I really love. For me, if I do want to do sort of more of a bold eyeliner on top, I use eyeshadow. And I find that the key in your success there is going to be getting yourself some brushes like this. Now, if I'm doing a real serious wing, say with black eyeshadow, this is the guy that I use. Very inexpensive, you guys. This is an e.l.f. brush. You can get this at Target. You can get it anywhere they sell e.l.f. products. This came in the same little package. It's the same. It's just a little bit less compacted in there. Still gives you great control. And that's what I do. I use something like this. That has been a big game changer for me. Just taking the eye pencil out of the equation for that and switching over to eyeshadows. Plus, for me, it gives me more of a soft look. Brightening that center of the face. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And this is what I did today. I love the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores. This is a very light sort of, it's sort of a setting powder, but I can't use it all over my face. It really is quite light, and I'm fair-skinned, but it works lovely as sort of that center of the face brightener I have found, and that's how I have been using it, and it works great. It does have a little bit of illumination to it, so it's not super matte, which I like, because that'll kind of assist the light to kind of bounce back at you too. And I just put it right in the center of my face. So we talked about that. We talked about how, you know, I have these wrinkles. You're still going to see them, obviously. But when I put something light right there, something even with a little bit of luminosity, that light's going to bounce out of those wrinkles and they're going to look a little less noticeable. And those little things is what comes together to make a pretty powerful sort of finished package. Be careful with your blush. This is just my opinion. This is just me giving you sort of my 2 cents. I do need color because I am very fair. So I do need color in my cheeks, absolutely. And yet I find the key to doing both of those things, making it soft and not going overboard, is the application and the applicator. So I love floofy brushes like these. Very floofy, really hard to go too heavy with something like this. This one, it gives me a little more, so I'll go with this one if the blush color that I'm using is kind of on the light side. This is what I use today, since, as you can see, this one has the color on it. And this is the lightest sort of applicator when it comes to applying this blush of the 3 that I have anyway. And that brings me to this tip. Get yourself a big poofy powder brush. That initial setting powder that you're going to put on with this is going to be on there. So it's a great way to soften each and every application really that you do. It just is going to just help you have a really pretty soft look in the end. All right, I think that's where we're going to end this one. And those definitely are the ones that I use just about every single time I put my makeup on. I'll do more videos like this, but I hope you found this helpful. Try some of these at home. And mostly just have fun. Have fun, sit down, get comfy, and start playing. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.